Okay, so the distributive property is the new one for today. If I distribute things, if I give them out in class, I give one to everybody. It wouldn't be very polite to be like one for you, and I just don't give one to the last person. All right, everybody has to get one. So that's what distributing is. Do you get how they took this A and they gave one to the B and they gave one to the C? They each got one. Now, the most common mistake with this is involving negatives. So let me show you. My daughter took this big test the other day called the PSAT. Have you heard of that test? It's kind of like the ACT. It's one of those tests that you can take, or you don't actually have to take it, but you can take it to practice for like the ACT or the SAT tests. If you want to go to college, it's a good idea to take that test. And if you're a really strong student, there's actually a chance of good scholarships and stuff that you can get by doing well on the PSAT. But anyway, this PSAT test had a question that involved this. There was more to it, but it was like this. There was a negative in front, and here's what my daughter wrote underneath it. Negative 5x minus 2. What did she do wrong? Yes? She didn't distribute the negative to the negative 2. Because if you have a negative and another negative, like on top of each other, like negative, negative 2, that should have been a plus 2 right there. That's all it took, and she got the problem wrong. And it was actually a pretty complicated problem, but in the middle of the problem, that was the thing that got her. All right, so let's see if you could do that. Distribute the negative to both of them and write it down. Write down what you get when you distribute the negative to both of them. All right, I'm going to come past and check you and see if you did it right. All you're doing is giving the negative one to each of them. You're right, ma'am. Nice job. Yes. And you almost did the fatal mistake that my daughter did. Yes, that's it. Yes, that's it. Now, I want to warn you, some people put plus and minus in the same thing. You're right. If you have a plus and a minus, it's just minus. It's better to put just minus instead of a plus minus. Good. It's not illegal to have plus minus. Good. Now distribute the negative. Throw the one negative on each of them. And that's the problem. Good. So now you distribute the negative. Put one negative on each of them. All right. So watch. For those that didn't catch that, it goes like this. The negative goes on here. Now I got negative 6x. The negative also goes on there. I got negative 8. I gave a negative to both of them. Raise your hand if you got that one right. All right, it's almost everybody good. So, gentlemen, this is not going to work if you're talking back there. I will move you. Okay. Still want you paying attention, so thanks for letting me know what you're talking about. How about this? 2 times a minus 3. Remember, this is times. Don't go putting 2 plus the 3. That was when we were adding. We're multiplying now. Multiply this puppy out and tell me what you think we get. And I want you to turn it my way if it's on an iPad or on paper as I walk past and tell me what you think. And I'll tell you if you got it or not. I'm going to pause for a second while we distribute that one out. So this one was 2a and a minus 6. Why 6? 2 times 3 makes 6. Why negative? Because if you have one negative in your problem, then you get one negative in your answer. So let me show you an example of that. 6 times 2. A child of age 9 can probably tell you that's 12. But how about 6 times negative 2? What's that? Negative 12. I like to think of it as poisoning it. You poisoned it with the negative, and now it's going to have to be a negative answer. Okay? But what if there's 2 negatives? Negative 6 times negative 2. Anti-venom. I like it. It got poisoned, but then it flipped it back to being okay again, positive 12. That's the only 3 possibilities you really have. If they're all positive, duh, it's positive. If there's 1 negative, you poisoned it, the answer is going to be negative. And if there's 2 negatives, then the answer goes, it's actually, you know what it is? It's opposite of opposite. It's if I say, oh, let's see, what's something that, okay, that's a double negative. Very good. So if he said, I ain't got no money, and ain't and no are both negatives. It's like negative, negative, and that means you do have some money. You guys have all heard that one before. All right, so let me just try a quick little formative on that to see who gets this. I'm going to give you 3 problems that have negatives, and I want to see if you can handle it. Okay, and I'm going to come by and check you. 2 times negative 8. If you have to, use a calculator, but do it in your head if you can. 3 times negative 4 times negative 1. Now I'm going to put these in parentheses. If they're right next to each other in parentheses, it means times. Notice 2 negatives in that problem. And negative 5 times negative 5 times 2. All right, write down those 3 answers. This time, I want you to check with the kid sitting next to you. You've got somebody across from you. You've got somebody across from you. You two can check with each other and see what you think the 3 answers are. Right now, you're getting scratch paper out and trying these problems. I'm going to pause for a second. Okay. Did you check with the kid next to you? Don't be scared. Check with them. I'll pause for a second. Okay. Here we go. 2 times negative 8, negative 16. Raise your hand if you had that one right. Okay, good. This one, opposite of an opposite. You went back to positive again, positive 12. And the last one is 5 times 5 is 25. You times that by 2, you get 50. And you have 2 negatives in it. So positive or negative 50? Positive 50. All right, cool. All right, so now the distributive worksheet. Behold this thing of beauty. I'm going to pause for a second while I hand it cord again. So here we go on number 1 on the worksheet. It says that. That means we got to distribute. I do like these little things. You don't have to do it, but you know what it'll keep you from doing? The classic mistake. Negative 6 times A, and then you just write plus 8. Do you get why that's a classic mistake? It's easy to forget to give a 6 to both of them. So that 8 has to get a 6 too. What is 6 times 8? You got to memorize? 48. And what is now wrong with it? Classic mistake number 2. It should be negative. Good. Why should it be negative? Because it was 1 negative and 1 positive, and that poisons it, and it's negative. There you go. All right. That's all there is to it. I feel like this is going to be pretty easy. Why don't you do a couple while I'm getting something else ready, and then I'm going to have you set it aside. But this is your only homework today. Just that side, just those 12. All right? I'm going to pause for a second while we get the next thing ready. Actually, for the video, I think that's all I need to show you for the video for today.